What does freedom mean to you? Does it mean the freedom to choose? The freedom to have a family and raise your kids according to your own values? What about living a wild, adventurous life, experimenting with music, relationships, or art? What does freedom really mean? What if freedom meant something that only a few Americans still understood? What if it meant that your choices and your values were set by you, rather than by some politician in a far-off capital? Some people think we're only free to choose to live exactly how they live, by their moral code, or their narrow worldviews. But if liberty means anything, it means that you, and you alone, have the power to exercise your rights to which the laws of nature and nature's God granted you. It's time to put these principles back into action. It's time to restore the American dream, activate in our communities, and take our country back. It's time to wake up, America. Good morning, it's 7:04. I'm Austin Petersen, and you're watching the Wake Up America show. Rise in freedom, let's rock and roll. Thanks so much for joining us today. We've got a great show for you. First up, Dustin Hill joins me to discuss Robert Reich's claims that independent state legislatures would mean the end of democracy. Can't wait to hear Dustin's take on that. And marijuana inches closer to legalization in the state of Missouri. At 7:35 this morning, trans activist Sara Higdon discusses why an account called Gays Against Groomers lost access to their payment systems. And at 8:09, Judge Andrew Napolitano gives his take on Florida Governor Ron DeSantis sending immigrants to Martha's Vineyard and the latest on the Trump raid. At 8:35, Vance Ginn is the former chief economist at the White House. He's going to give his take on the dismal state of the U.S. economy. All that and more on the Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Joining me now in studio, live and in person, fresh from his skydiving adventures, Dustin Hill joining me, former congressional candidate here in Missouri. Good morning, Dustin. How are you, sir?
How's it going, AP?
It's good, man. It's nice to see you. Thanks for coming in studio. I know it was kind of a long drive here for you, but we're glad to have you.
Oh, from Montgomery County? No, always a good time to come down to Jeff City.
Yes. So for those who don't know, this might be their first time being introduced to you here, your first time on the news show. Give us a little bit of info about your background so people know where you're coming from.
Oh, the resume again?
Sure.
I got so good at doing this during the campaign, it should be up there.
Mm-hmm.
My name's Dustin Hill. I was formerly a Republican candidate for Missouri's 3rd Congressional District. I grew up in Montgomery County, Missouri, up the road, about 75 minutes from JC, and joined the Marine Corps when I was 18. Did the invasions of Afghanistan, Iraq, became a security consultant, military contractor after that, after getting out of the Marine Corps in 2007. Bounced around the world, got my degree in business economics from Georgia State University in 2015. Did a little stint as a master's student in economics in Norway. My biggest hobby, I would say, is probably the skydiving that you alluded to. Been doing that sport for about 10 years and just got back from Wisconsin a few days ago where I got my certification as a tandem skydiving instructor. So
tandem skydiving
right.
instructor.
So if you and the wife ever want to strap yourself to a former congressional candidate and jump out of a plane.
I don't know
I'm
about
your guy.
that one. I'm not sure. Well, I'm glad to have you here. So now that people have a little bit of a better idea of what you're all about, I'd like to play this video for you if you don't mind.
Sure.
This is of Robert Reich, who, every conservative's favorite leftist.
Everybody.
To beat up on. This is a video. I'm going to play a clip of him. I want you to listen to this one and tell me what you think. This is where he's talking about this independent state legislature theory. Take a listen.
Republicans have a scheme that could remove American voters from the process of selecting their next president. You heard that right. A case headed to the Supreme Court could let Republican-controlled state legislatures overrule the will of the people and pick the next president of the United States without you. This all hinges on a radical idea called the independent state legislature theory. It's at the heart of a case the Supreme Court will decide called Moore versus Harper. The decision in this case could give state legislatures the power to disregard the popular vote and substitute their own slate of electors, pledged to whomever they wish. We've already had a preview of what this could mean for our democracy. The independent state legislature theory underpinned a major legal strategy in Trump's attempted coup.
Just look at one thing. the legislatures of the states did not approve all of the things that were done for those elections.
All right, so let's pause it just right there, Dustin, and get your take on what Robert Reich is complaining about here.
Well, you've got this, and this is an interesting thing to come right back and jump into the political pool with, because you've kind of got these two diametrically opposed forces going on in the country, which is people are seeing the trend line of the country, how we're kind of shaking apart at the seams. I mean, look at all the things we went through with the campaign. You've got all these issues, the economy being the big one, I think, abortion, states' rights. I mean, just you've got kind of the Republican way is somebody's got to take control of this thing before we shake ourselves apart. And then you've got kind of the Democratic side, which is, I don't know, it's almost more chaotic, where it's saying, yeah, let's shake it apart. I alluded to this sometimes during the campaign, where the Senate, the United States Federal Senate, didn't used to be chosen by popular vote. It used to be selected by the state legislatures. The Senate, if you look at the original Constitution, or just the Constitution, and actually read it and look at the ethos of it, through the Federalist Papers, the House of Representatives was supposed to be popular vote representing the people, and the Senate was actually supposed to represent the states.
That was the whole idea,
right,
with the 17th Amendment. The passage of the 17th Amendment in 1913 was to override the original intent of the Constitution, which was, people that we elect to represent us, they've got more information than we do.
Sure, yeah.
They're the ones who are going to make the decisions on senators, but the progressives decided that, no, it's a good idea.
People.
Let all the people vote for the senator.
And it sounds good.
It sounds great. It sounds amazing. People get to choose the senators.
I mean, but look at what was it last year? I think Nancy Pelosi did a press conference where she was like, "Yeah, I think we should let 16-year-olds vote." And
but they can't buy whipped cream in New York.
Right.
They can't buy whipped cream bottles in New York.
And everybody who's ever been a 16-year-old was like, I don't know, Nancy. We should think about that.
But every 16-year-old's like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm going to vote for the guy who gives us free soda at lunch. Exactly. I'm going to who's going to serve pizza every day at lunch.
That's you've got kind of this split apart, of the country down these fractured lines of some people, I guess, are kind of existing in almost a different reality.
It does feel like we are living in different worlds.
Right.
We're part of the same country, but we're on different planets.
Yeah. And you've got some people that are like, yeah, of course, an 8-year-old should be able to tell somebody what gender they should be for the rest of their lives, and they should make life, changing decisions. And I think a lot of the country is just, especially here in Missouri, especially rural Missouri, is just kind of scratching their heads and going, where is this going?
I mean, it was kind of like when we were watching what was happening on the coast during the pandemic.
Sure.
We were fighting our own battles here for sure,
of course,
to prevent COVID tyranny in different places. But for the most part, in mid-Missouri, we were watching the coast just going, what the hell are you doing to yourselves? Kicking yourselves in the beanbag over
it. Yeah. In the beanbag. I talked about this during the campaign. I left D.C. I was there for 2 years on a high-level contract. I left D.C. in June. Loaded everything up in the in the U-Haul to get back here to the family farm, and it was that weekend where kind of I think they'd burned down a church. If you remember COVID summer 2020, which
was hell.
It was it's also going to be the name of my first horror movie, COVID summer 2020.
Banned on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram.
Yeah, exactly. It was, I was leaving Northern Virginia. You could see the skyline of DC in the background and just plumes of smoke, it almost felt like Escape from DC. And the kind of COVID, mentality in DC. And you got to remember, this is DC suburbs. They're so dependent on the government for their wealth. That's what DC drives, this engine of just massive inflation and assets, everything. That's what those suburbs are dependent on. the people there, the mentality was, there's no way these people could be lying to us. There's no way they're overblowing this. You get back to, Middletown, Missouri, where I'm from. If you had been wearing a mask when you walked into the bar that night, they just would have said, well, just get out.
I do believe you get your ass kicked.
I do believe.
But I wanted to talk to you about the whole like independent. The funny thing about like the Democrats is that they like democracy when they win elections.
Yeah,
but you can't say that the election was stolen, right? You can't say that on social media. If they're watching us right now, they might take us down.
I gotta go.
But here's the thing: remember the 2016 election narrative? Remember?
Oh, yeah.
It was Russian interference. The election was stolen.
Well done, comrades.
The White House. Listen, the White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre or whatever, she tweeted that the election was stolen. The 2016 election was stolen by Russian interference. So
what do you know?
Are we in just this endless feedback loop now, Dustin, that every election that's lost is going to be a stolen election? Or
I think so.
Maybe they are stolen.
Yeah. I don't like voting machines. I don't understand why we have to use them. There was even during this election, another candidate from another district hit me up shortly after the election and was like, we're doing these investigations. We think this thing was rigged. And, I just, I gotta say, I love this new show. And I wrote him back. I was like, so what if it was? So what if you were like, man, I've got this evidence. Do you really think the people that control these kinds of power levers care? I mean, it's this is one of the best things that I feel really lucky for having jumped into the ring and doing that last campaign was getting to see, feet first, kind of how the cheddar's made, not only in DC, but also seeing back here where you might be the best candidate. You might have the best ideas. You might have and it's the same with any industry. You might have the best show. You might have the best product. You might have anything else going for you that you might put in your life into, your hard work, your sweat, anything else. But people, especially Americans, especially rural Americans right now, are realizing that can all be undercut by the Federal Reserve. Today, we've got an FOMC meeting, right? Jerome Powell's coming out with probably a 75. Yeah, there we go. Is anyone else hearing that?
Yeah, they're hearing.
And so our economy, and that's my specialty. That's what I usually go back to. Our market isn't even dependent on like basic fundamentals anymore. Oh, you make a great product. Great. Well, if the powers that be determine that the dollar's not worth anything, well, good luck with that. But I mean, anything else, this is going to shake out in some sort of momentous, to go back to with the independent state legislatures, something like that.
That is against their interest.
Right.
They want a strong, powerful federal government that tells us all what to do. The supremacy clause is to be used for everything.
For everything, yeah.
These things I'm going to let you finish. I'm going to let you finish your point. Sure. We got a minute left. Finish your point, and then we got to move on.
Okay, yeah. I mean, these things are going to shake apart, but there's also going to be countervailing immune responses that come out. People are going to adjust to this new environment. So we're going to see that happen.
I like that. Dustin, stick around with us. We're going to talk about the legalization of marijuana upcoming in Missouri. It's not just for Illinoisans anymore. Illinoisans? Oh, who cares? It's
Illinoisans.
Illinoisans, very, very Illinoising. We're going to talk about that when we get back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
It's morning again in America. Our country is prouder and stronger and better.
I like shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today.
Fire.
Your printing company stinks. They charge you too much money and they don't love America enough. We've got the solution. Patriot Printing USA. Whether you're running for office, saving souls, or just need business cards that will get you the new job you've been looking for, Patriot Printing USA has got you covered with the best prices around. Palm cards, brochures, bumper stickers, door hangers, you name it, we've got it. PatriotPrintingUSA.com. That's PatriotPrintingUSA.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
Average Americans are turning into conspiracy theorists at an unprecedented rate. Flip City Magazine was created for new converts to aid in their in-depth research along the path of absolute truth. We offer the hardest-hitting news and opinion, delivered uncensored in print directly to your door. Display proudly on your coffee table, or hide discreetly under your mattress. Flip City is the magazine they don't want you to see, much less read. Subscribe to Flip City Magazine today at flipcitymag.com.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.
Good morning, it's 7:22, time to rise in freedom. You're watching the Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen. My special guest, Dustin Hill, still joining me in here. Good to see you, Dustin. Thanks for sticking around.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah. But speaking of democracy, like we were in the last segment, voters in Missouri are going to head to the polls this fall with legalized recreational cannabis on the ballot for the first time in Missouri history. I guess I'll just toss it over to you, Dustin, because, you know, a lot of people, especially the legalization crowd here in Missouri, like my pro-legalization friends, are not going to vote for this.
Really?
Yeah, and it's because they they think that it creates a cartel. It sets up economic incentives that are, counter to a free market. And, it's basically cronyism. And so, I don't know. I'm open to the arguments, but, what do you think?
I haven't. It's on a referendum?
Yeah, it's going to be on our ballot to vote for it.
Yeah,
it's democracy. People vote for it. That means it's good.
Right. Yeah. So I haven't seen what the actual ballot initiative is, but I think looking around the country, we have seen a lot of these legalization schemes kind of backfire. They have set up cartels. They have set up. They've had unforeseen consequences, and one of the biggest things that people have to realize about anything with the government is the government actually is the source of all monopolies. I mean, if you have a truly free and open market with good competition going on, usually you're going to have the best outcomes. But what we do is we use, the power of the state, especially when it gets involved in economics. And this marijuana legalization thing, I think this has been a pretty big trend nationwide, correct?
Yeah, for sure.
And it's kind of a Trojan horse a lot of times where, we're going to legalize it. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can get a marijuana tax stamp federally, right? That's actually how it's outlawed.
So
they just say, "Oh, you can't get we're not giving out tax stamps."
So it's illegally. It's still illegal federally. You could get a tax stamp if it was like a university that was doing certain types of experiments that the federal government had.
Mhm.
The federal government actually had its own program for before legalization was happening across the country,
Okay.
where they were giving it to certain patients around the country. And strangely enough, what's his name? Who's the black guy who was the daily talk show host? Montel Williams.
Okay.
Montel Williams had it.
Take
one
me
time.
way back now.
I got a funny story about that, and his can of weed in New York. I'll tell some other time. But it's still illegal. So technically in Missouri, if we legalize it recreationally, the feds could still come and raid you, right? If they wanted to. I mean, they haven't yet. They did initially back when California first legalized it. There were some raids, but they've started to just back off on it. They're just not enforcing the law.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't think that's a good thing. We probably, it should be, the feds should stay out of it. It shouldn't be a state crime. The problem, of course, is that a lot of these drugs are, flowing across the border.
Right. And, this is another indication, and certainly the Libertarian Party is big on these things. The Republicans, not so much, but, government creates the problems that it then sells you the solutions for.
Yeah.
Right. We've got to outlaw this. Well, we need an agency to enforce that. And then we need all these sub agencies. And now we've gotten to the point where the federal government is so overblown and so overextended. All these bureaucracies are now fighting each other for, every last little bit of territory, psychic territory in Americans' lives. You've got an organization like OSHA, right, who's now, we're going to make sure the vaccines are mandated through our power to control the vocational space.
And Biden declared that the pandemic was over, but he's still maintaining his
congratulations.
Yeah, but
we made it.
He's still maintaining his emergency powers.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to get rid of those.
We're not going. Our listeners are texting in this morning, and you can text us in too at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. You can text the show. Maria over on the Facebook live stream this morning said, "My anarchist," quotes, using quotes on that, "commie friends bent over pretty easy for the medical marijuana cards. Sure, put me on your list, master. Can I get another hit, please?"
There you go.
Even my stoner ass was a nah on that. Yeah. Well, the problem, of course, too, is that, if you want to buy a gun, then you have to essentially lie on the form in order to do it if you got your medical marijuana card, right? So it's kind of like, there does need to be some kind of a federal action. You know what I mean?
Or, maybe it's time, especially as we're kind of going into the hyperinflationary cycle that I see coming down the road. Like, the only way to get out of it is to actually cut government spending. So maybe it's time for federal inaction. Also, I got to tell you, I mean, a lot of federal agencies, these federal bureaucrats, they don't actually want to do anything. It's not like they sit
What do you
there.
mean?
Well, it's
You mean they want to just sit around and collect a paycheck?
right. And
they're quiet quitting.
Right. And that was one of the crazy things about COVID, right? COVID kind of dropped the mask where it was like, oh, only 50% of us have to come in at any one time. And
They love that.
And nobody notices.
The same thing happened with the social media companies. Mark Zuckerberg had to come out here and say, look, you got to start showing up to work.
Yeah. And I mean, this is one of the things that spurred me into running for Congress. It was the same thing with Afghanistan. What were we doing for 20 years? We didn't get the result we were at. It's kind of like we've been spinning our wheels. And when it comes to actual military action, when you spin your wheels, when you have these military misadventures, people die.
Well, here's the thing too, is that on the medical marijuana thing with the feds, if you ask the left, if the feds, if the states should be able to set their own laws when it comes to marijuana,
right,
they'll all be like, oh yeah, the feds should stay out of it, bro. Don't touch my marijuana.
Yeah.
But then when you say that, we should have independent state legislatures in order to have, protect our voting processes, they're like, no, bro, that's against democracy, bro. That's against democracy.
Great impression, by the way. That is, this new show setup, I got to tell you, I can't wait to know whether
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Dustin, you're a great guy. I'm glad I got to have you on the show. I definitely would like to have you as a regular. Where can people learn more about you and your fight for liberty?
So we've still got DustinHill.org. We're going to keep that up. We're talking to people. I mean, it's a 2-year cycle. We're not even through the general election yet, though. So I'm actually heading back up to Wisconsin. I'm sorry, Missourians.
How dare you?
I know. I'm going to finish out the skydiving season up there.
No, God! No, God, please, no!
Yeah.
No!
But then I'm going to come back, hopefully take you guys on a tandem ride.
Ooh,
all right. Let's get crazy.
That'd be fun.
But you know what? This is something I've always been interested is, at the start of our country, and I know we're going back 250 some years, our founders didn't look at, we didn't need a standing army, and politics is war by another means. I don't think they intended people's lives to be so continuously political. And I'm glad there's people like yourself, other people watching kind of on the wall, what's going on all the time. I'm more of I'm going to dip my toe in, go pretty hard at it, and then kind of extract myself. I've been on like a political detox the last few weeks since the
I know what that's like after you run for office. You just want to get away from it and all of that, because there's a lot of vitriol and hate. But Dustin, I got to go to a commercial break.
Got it.
You're a good man and a sincere patriot, and I definitely would love to have you back on whenever you're in town.
Can't wait.
And maybe if we can do it remote via Zoom if you're not in town, or you can do it live streaming while you're
technology
out of a plane. We have the technology.
We have the technology.
We can rebuild him. Dustin Hill,
thank you
very much for coming on the show today. We'll
Thanks,
definitely
AP.
have him back. Did you like Dustin Hill? Send us a text 573-319-1586. When we get back, trans activist, military veteran herself, Sara Higdon, is going to join us. She's going to talk to us a little bit about the Gays Against Groomers and how they had their access to their payment profiles suspended. All that and more on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here. And we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Hi, I'm Stephanie, Austin's wife. I want to thank you all for watching the Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen. This show has been a huge venture for our family, so we would love it if you could join us.
I believe in liberty, and I believe in Austin's ability to spread the ideas of liberty. Do you?
I want to ask you today to join Petersen's Patriots with a pledge of $17.76 a month. Help us to stay cancel-proof so we can spread the message of limited government across the country. I joined Petersen's Patriots myself, just in a little different way. Visit wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and make your pledge today.
Average Americans are turning into conspiracy theorists at an unprecedented rate. Flip City Magazine was created for new converts to aid in their in-depth research along the path of absolute truth. We offer the hardest-hitting news and opinion, delivered uncensored in print directly to your door. Display proudly on your coffee table, or hide discreetly under your mattress. Flip City is the magazine they don't want you to see, much less read. Subscribe to Flip City Magazine today at flipcitymag.com.
Speaker Pelosi's husband, Paul, made a big investment in chips just before Congress votes on a bill that would give $52 billion in subsidies and tax credits to the chip industry.
Over the course of your career, has your husband ever made a stock purchase or sale based on information he received from you?
No.
And I believe if you come to our border, you will be turned back. Do not come. Do not come.
Have you ever received a royalty payment from a company that you later oversaw money going to that company?
You know, I don't know as a fact, but I doubt it.
Well, here's the thing is, why don't you let us know?
Good morning, it's 7:36, and it's time to rise in freedom. I'm Austin Petersen, and you're watching the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Gays Against Groomers. Well, that's a hell of a title of a group. Well, that group was operating online for quite some time, and they were out there fighting against people who were, I guess, I can't really say the word because instead of being on the radio now, we're on social media where if I say this word, we're probably going to get shut down. But let's just say that they were gays against groomers and they're having some problems online. My friend who's joining me right now is trans activist Sara Higdon on the phone or on Zoom. Good morning, Sara. Thank you for joining me on the program today.
Good morning. Thanks for having me again. I'm glad to see your new show, and I'm glad to be back on the show, the new show.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on, Sara. So give us a little bit of background about who are the Gays Against Groomers. Be careful about using the P word because, of course, we are streaming on social networks that I'm just a hair's breadth away from being banned on. So,
yeah, and you're probably close to getting banned because you're using the G word now, too, because that's not allowed on Twitter and some other places, right? It's groomers. You got to use the B now. But no, so... Gays Against Groomers is just a coalition of LGBT people who are kind of fighting the radical agenda that we're seeing from the left. And their biggest stance and their whole reason for being is protecting children. because what we've seen with drag queen story hours, with taking kids to drag shows, and then the transition of children. Like, it's kind of like, you're an adult. If you're an adult, do whatever you want. But if you're, we have to protect the vulnerable children in our community. And especially as we see, more and more detransitioners come out. My friend Jamie started the group. She's been known for quite a while. She's a graphic designer. She's been known as the Gay Who Strayed for quite a while on Instagram. And so when all this kind of popped up, she jumped in and created this group. And like I said, it's just a coalition. Like, a lot of us are there. We're volunteering our time because we believe in the mission of the group.
So the mission of the group is a LGBT community is rallying together to stand opposed to things like children being brought to drag shows, story hours. There might be a bevy of opinions on this one, but what happened to the group? So have they been demonetized online? Have they been banned? I mean, they can't access payment processors. What is the backlash to them? What's been the official backlash?
Well, so now we're seeing a lot more, and it's interesting. So, first, they've kind of gotten the libs of TikTok treatment, where they've been banned, like permanently suspended from Twitter 4 different times, and they were able to get brought back. I think most of it had to do with the first time, or one of the times they got banned. Jamie went on Tucker Carlson, and then was almost immediately unsuspended at that point. Because it got raised so high. So yesterday at about 2:43 a.m., I saw the post. Jamie had put it into our group chat and was like, "Hey, we just got banned from PayPal and Venmo within minutes of each other. Like, they completely suspended their accounts, and all they said was it was for user agreement violations. And we still don't know what violations what we violated." And it also comes on the heels as we actually are officially a nonprofit now. And so it's really interesting because now we can't accept donations through those two payment processors. And so they're denying this nonprofit the ability to basically execute their work. Now we have alternates, and that's what we're going with. But since that time that I broke the story with Post Millennial yesterday, last night, right before I was going to bed, it was about 10:30, 11. We saw that Google deleted their account. So we have no more email account through Google because Google now has taken a step in. And so it seems like there's some sort of coordinated effort to attack this group of LGBT people. And like Jamie said in her statement, she said it last night on Tucker, and she said it to me yesterday morning, it's quite frankly, it's homophobia. Because if this was any other group of LGBT people, we're just getting attacked because we don't fall in line, with the leftist narrative. And so really, when you look at it, it's like, how is this not homophobia? It's a group of LGBT people that you're attacking just because they don't agree with you politically.
Just tuning in to the Wake Up America show, I have on Sara Higdon. She's a trans activist, a military veteran, and she's joining us now to talk about an account that she helped run, a nonprofit group called Gays Against Groomers. This is an LGBT group that uses their activism to try and push against things like children, story hours, and kids being groomed by certain members of the LGBT community. It's a fascinating story, Sara, because, I was talking last week with my brother who was visiting in town about, the group of how, being a trans activist is one thing, right? But if you're a detransitioner, right, you have transitioned, you've surgically transitioned. Yeah. But the group of people, which is, a very small group of people, but still the group of people who have detransitioned, who have said, this was a mistake, I wish I hadn't done this. Those are the most canceled people of all. Those are the people that are like scorned the most. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly, any cult function, how they function, it's, Linsky style tactics where you want to make the people that are in the group fear leaving the group. And
it's like leaving the Libertarian Party.
Oh God, yeah.
Just kidding. Go ahead, Sara.
But and so that's exactly what they do. When you leave this place of gender ideology and queer theory, they will attack you. And they almost take it as a slight because they think that by raising awareness to the fact that, maybe it's not right for us to be, telling children just because they're gender nonconforming that they're probably trans. Maybe that's not a good thing. And maybe we should have them wait longer and actually go through the process before they actually transition, transition as adults.
Maybe they're just gay. Maybe they're just gay. I mean, I can't tell you how many people, how many gay friends and family members I've known who will tell you, that when they were a kid, they used to cross-dress and they did it because, they were gay. They were exploring their sexuality. They weren't trans, and they were so thankful that they were allowed to go through puberty normally without some parents abusing them or someone even worse. I mean, there are sincere predators out there. I know about this story about this one transgender activist who actually mails hormone treatment to people without parents' consent, and does this as a way, to spread this. I mean, it's horrible, terrible stuff, predatory behavior, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. It's like, why are they doing this? And then the new WPATH guidance, which I actually just had an op-ed written in Human Events yesterday as well, put out, that it talks about two of the biggest things that are in there that's really problematic is they eliminate all age-based recommendations. So now it's basically put on the doctors for the doctor's discretion to determine when it's appropriate to go on puberty blockers, or when it's appropriate to go on HRT, or when to have irreversible surgery. So you're going to see more mastectomies at the age of 14, like detransitioner Chloe Cole, who I'm speaking with this week. You're going to see more of that. And then not only that, there's a provision in there that says something about if parents aren't accepting, they should be involved in the process unless they are not accepting and it's harmful or not feasible to the child. And then we saw in the conference about the new guidance, one of the people state that actually wrote that section talk about even leveraging CPS to affirm children's gender, or to go after parents that do not affirm their child's gender. And he's even said, even if you make the mere mention, maybe suggest that if you don't, to parents, that if you don't do this, then we're probably going to go to CPS and you're probably going to lose your kids. Like, just that mere mention will prevent them from being so, we'll have them affirm the child's gender. And it's so dangerous. I said it's one of the smallest parts of the document, but it's probably the most significant, because in states like California and then Canada and other countries around the world, they are already doing this. There's already laws in the books for them to be able to do this.
If you're just tuning in, we're speaking to Sara Higdon. She's a trans activist. We're talking about a group called Gays Against Groomers, a nonprofit which protects children from pedophiles. You can text the show at 573, oops, I said the word, 573-319, minor attracted persons. 573-319-1586 is the text line. Camellia Petersen over on the Facebook live stream said that maybe they're not any of those things. Maybe they're tomboys. Maybe they're responding to immense social pressure online to be something different. Chris Morrill on the live stream said Trudy Bush Valentine, she's the U.S. Senate candidate here in the state of Missouri on the Democratic ticket. She actually got in trouble with some of the far left for coming out against gender reassignment for minors. It's interesting, Sarah, because this has got to be a minority-held view amongst these people, but they wield outsized power to their actual numbers.
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of amazing, but that's how we always see it, right? The loudest group gets the attention, and I would say it's probably a minority. So more and more by the day, it seems like maybe it's not. I don't know. I like to think it is, but I think most people, when you look at this, you're like, maybe we should just let people wait, because exactly what Camilla said is that. So, especially the rise in people identifying as trans has just gone up exponentially in females. The males has gone up a little bit, but young females has just exploded. And a lot of that is because we're telling young girls that when, they're going through these puberty years where nobody really likes their body and everybody's kind of uncomfortable, and it's, they're going through these changes that they don't understand. And so they kind of want to escape that. And so when you escape that, now you can be, a young girl can be a boy if she wants, because she doesn't want to develop into a woman, because she's not comfortable doing that at this stage yet. It's not something that she wants to do. And so it's very harmful to the individual when you do that, and it's really just playing into this. It's almost body shaming in a lot of ways.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. Sara, we're speaking to Sara J. Higdon. Sara, I got about a minute left and I got to go to a commercial break. I want to give you the last word. And my last question here, and I want you to also tell us where we can find out more about you. But how do we, if we keep losing access to our means to be able to communicate, how do we fight back?
It's like what you talked about when you were on my show a few weeks ago. The counterculture. We have to establish counter economies. We have to establish our own platforms. We have to do this now. We have platforms like Substack, and Stripe seems to be actually a very good payment processor. So there's other forms of communication that we are going to be able to use. Unfortunately, what they're going to do is push people into echo chambers, so the extremes get more extreme. And so, but that's exactly what we have to do. We have to get out of this business to where we have our own systems. We can't rely on these woke systems. I mean, like I said, Google just removed stuff. These big tech companies wield so much power over our daily lives in the way that we make income as content creators. So we have to move to alternatives as well.
Absolutely, we do. Yeah.
Somebody told me you got to be like J-Lo and be everywhere.
That's what I'm trying to do. I'm multi-streaming to multiple networks, including Rumble.
You're on Rumble too. Yeah, I'm on Rumble as well. All my stuff goes to Rumble. So you're
absolutely
right.
That's the way to go. We got to start looking at creating alternative platforms and means of communication. Where can people follow you, Sara?
Yeah, so go to my YouTube or go to my website is sarahhigdon.com. Quick and easy. There's a links tab in there. You can find all my stuff in there. Twitter and Instagram is Sara Higdon with an underscore after it. And then youtube.com/Sara Higdon. Same with Rumble.
Sara Higdon, you're a patriot and a great American. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. What a great interview. Do you like Sara Higdon? Send us a text, 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. We've still got lots more great show to go. Judge Napolitano is going to be joining us this morning at 8 o'clock. It's going to be an awesome interview. We're going to talk to him about the Martha's Vineyard immigration situation. He's got a pretty unorthodox take on that. You don't want to miss a single minute of the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
I enlisted as a medic to be there to help my patients, and after an injury, I found myself as a patient. I experienced post-traumatic seizures. Depression is a big one that comes along with it, PTSD. So I pursued my PhD in neuroscience and regenerative medicine. The coalition has helped fund my academic pursuits. They genuinely care about helping the vet in whatever way that they can. Through supporting the coalition, you're supporting some of the veterans that have the biggest needs.
Visit saluteheroes.org to learn more.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun. Thank you, Ben.
Had enough yet? Do facts no longer matter? Are lies to be encouraged instead of punished? This is not our inheritance. If truth no longer matters, we will not remain free for long. This is our generation's challenge, to defend our founders' hope that we the people could self-govern if we defend our right to get the facts. And right now, we're building the only defense of free people have, the facts. on every politician, every position they held, every statement they've made, every vote they've made, and any cash they've taken. It's the real history on those now pandering for your vote. There are hundreds of young people building our defense right now, and they need your help. We all have our passions, but as our ancestors knew, when events become so foul they threaten us all, we must stand and defend each other. Please, have our backs. Join us at votesmart.org.
What would happen if I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors? What would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? So you can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be.
There is no typical firefighter.
As the world faces the challenges of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, Lions recognize that kindness matters now more than ever. And Lions and Leos are finding ways to continue to serve our communities, including ordering food delivery for healthcare workers, holding story time for children online, and providing surgical masks to medical professionals and first responders. Empowering us to do more, Lions Clubs International Foundation has provided nearly $2.5 million in grant funding for COVID-19 relief. And that support continues to grow. For more than 100 years, in times of need, Lions always find a way to help those around them. And after we emerge from this, we will be stronger than ever. Visit lionsclubs.org to learn more.
Good morning at 7:55. You're watching the Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen. Thanks so much for tuning in. You can text the show this morning at 573-319-1586. We'd love to hear from you. Many of our listeners have been responding to our great interviews that we've had already. Dustin Hill was on the show earlier this morning. We talked to him a little bit about Robert Reich, talking about how the Republicans believe in this crackpot theory of independent state legislatures and what a threat to democracy it is. We also talked to Sara Higdon. She's a trans activist, about a nonprofit group that she's a part of called Gays Against Groomers that lost access to their payment systems over their views that children should be protected from predators. One of our listeners texted in this morning and said that Gays Against Groomers committed the greatest sin, heresy. No religion can accept an apostate. Another listener texted in this morning at 573-319-1586 and said, so what's the difference of talking about groomers and Epstein-Maxwell and their actions with minors? Great question. And the funny thing is about that is that, we still don't have access to Epstein's client list. I mean, think about all of the powerful, rich and powerful people that flew on that plane, the Lolita Express, and visited his island, his island out in St. Bart's, St. Lucia, some islands in the Caribbean. And a lot of these people, we know the names of the alleged. We've seen alleged names. I won't read any of them right here because, again, it's just allegations. But we know for a fact that the reason why Bill Gates' marriage broke up is in large part due to his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. One listener texted in this morning and said that they subscribed to Sarah's YouTube. Transitioning kids is body shaming. That's true. I asked a lesbian activist friend if she feels the images portrayed at gay parades represent most gays accurately and never got an answer. Boy, that is interesting stuff. Boy, I love these conversations and I love our listeners. I want to ask you a favor today. If you want to help us to remain cancel proof, give us a subscribe over at Rumble. You can follow me on Rumble at AP for Liberty. I'm trying to grow my presence there. If you're on Rumble right now watching us this morning, if you can comment below our Rumble video, just say something, whatever you liked about the stream, any kind of a comment to help us grow our reach over there over on rumble.com. I would appreciate that. I'm rumble.com/users/AP4Liberty. So just type in AP for Liberty over there. Give me a follow on Rumble, and I would be super grateful about that, because I'm just telling you, I'm hanging by a thread on Facebook, and it's very likely that I will just disappear without a trace from there one day very soon. I could actually probably pull up the list of what do you call it, demerits or whatever they call it on Facebook, to show you all of these, you've been taken down for this, this is out of context, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, anything you could say anything is taken out of context. So they apply these rules to people that they disagree with. Again, you can text the show this morning at 573-319-1586. Coming up here in just a few minutes, we're going to talk to Judge Andrew Napolitano at 8:03 a.m. He's got a take on the Martha's Vineyard immigration situation, well, that I think you're probably not ready for. You're going to need to take a few minutes, take a deep breath, go to the bathroom, get yourself maybe a little bit of breakfast item, get yourself some crumb cake and a cup of coffee, because you're just not ready for what the judge's take on this is going to be. And he's going to give us the latest update with what's going on with the FBI raid on Trump's house at Mar-a-Lago. At 8:30 this morning, I've got the former chief economist of the White House joining me. His name is Vance Ginn. It'll be his first time with an interview for me. Vance Ginn is going to join me. He's a PhD. He's going to talk about the state of the American economy. You don't want to miss a single minute of the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com.
Hello, my name is Kelvin. Welcome to Frenchy Bush. This is my Didi's website. Now I've decided to speak to you with my real voice for the first time ever, to tell you about how cool Frenchy Bush is. But I've decided that this is the perfect opportunity to share with you. Frenchy Bush is a good website. You should follow us on socials. If you like Frenchies or any kind of bulldogs, me and my new brother George are going to try to make your life more fun.
Hello, I'm George. My neck isn't really thick yet, but it will be. We are so glad you're here. Please ignore my floating eyeball. It helps me spot predators who might be approaching from the sides.
Didi made Frenchy bullshit to review things that he uses on me and my brother to tell you if it's good or bullshit. Take this collar, for example. Didi really likes it. Didi said it's really handy because us Frenchies got thick necks. Need something really tough. People think Frenchies are little, but if you look at us from below, you can see we are really pretty buff. Beefcake. Yes. Look at my creamy thighs and chest. Yes. You like that?
Big brother, please focus.
Frenchy Bush. Please follow us for more great content and read the Frenchy Bush blog for more fun and cool stuff.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every dollar we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Ever hear the one about the frog? Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out.
Here's my resume again.
But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, and that frog will boil. It's a lie. but as a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans,
The real-world experience.
it's a story that rings true. We make excuses for how we feel. We push everything down. We tell ourselves the lie that it's easier to stay in that boiling water, to disconnect. And some days, maybe it is. But you've never been interested in easy. Make no mistake, reaching out is hard. Do it anyway. You're not alone. You've got this. You are not a frog.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
And we're back. Good morning. It's 8:05. It's time to rise in freedom. Thanks for watching the Wake Up America show. I'm Austin Petersen. My next guest is my favorite guest. It's time for Big Brain Time. His name is Judge Andrew Napolitano, and he's joining us on the line right now. Good morning, Judge. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, glad to have you here, Judge. I'm excited to talk to you about this topic. It's the thing that everybody's discussing, which was this move, this tactical move by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. And this move essentially was that he took taxpayer dollars and at taxpayers' expense, he decided to ship illegal immigrants to Martha's Vineyard in order to show the left what they have to deal with in Florida and Texas and many of these other states in the South on a daily basis. Now, you write a weekly column at judgenap.com. You're also the host of the Judging Freedom podcast. I imagine you've got a lot to say about this. I read your column last night. It blew my hair back, Judge. I was shocked. I'm so excited for our listeners to hear what you have to say. So share your point of view with us on that.
Well, you and I have spent countless hours analyzing the libertarian approach to the world's problems, and we both come down on the same side, which is the side of human freedom. I mean, the right to travel is a natural right. It comes from our humanity. It's in the same category of rights as thought, speech, and association, and worship, and self-defense. It doesn't matter where your mother was born. That doesn't determine, it doesn't matter where your mother was when you were born. That doesn't determine your rights. Your rights come from your humanity. So everybody has same human rights, and the government is obliged by the 9th Amendment to the Constitution to respect those human rights. You can't interfere with them. Now, people say, well, they're here illegally. Well, they're not here illegally. They may have entered illegally, but they were all processed. They all made a prima facie case of seeking asylum. They come from countries where the dictatorships don't give a damn about personal liberty, or where the government is so gutless that it allows gangs to roam the streets who don't give a damn about the right to live. They have the right to make these asylum cases. They have court dates assigned to them in Texas, and the government shipped them 1,000 miles away. So imagine you're about to go into a courthouse to settle a case, to adopt a baby, to defend a case, to present a case, and all of a sudden the government puts you on a bus and ships you 1,000 miles away. That's exactly what it did to these people. In the case of Governor Abbott, he did it using state funds from Texas to Martha's Vineyard to Chicago to Washington, D.C. to New York. In the case of Governor Desantis, it's even more bizarre. He shipped them from Dallas to Miami. They never got off the plane. And then from Miami to Chicago, D.C., New York, and Martha's Vineyard. So he can claim to have control and power outside his state is beyond me. How either can claim they have the ability to interfere with a natural right is beyond me. How they can claim they can interfere with liberty without due process, without a trial at which they prove fault, is beyond me. I'm not making this up. Two Supreme Court opinions directly address this. One of them concerns the right to travel interstate. You have the right to travel and the right not to travel. The other concerns Texas again, trying to deny basic safety net services to people who are here illegally. The Supreme Court said you can't do it. Once they set foot in the United States or within the 3-mile limit of the United States, they're by the Constitution.
If you're just tuning in, we're speaking to Judge Andrew Napolitano. You can text the show at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. If you have a question for the judge, send it in, and I might be able to read it on air. Judge, what about the leftist response to this? Were you surprised to see how quickly the liberals called the military on the immigrants?
Well, disappointed response to any of it. I mean, the left has never been known for ideological consistency or for personal liberty. They're known for sort of forced militarism, take from the rich, give to the poor. So I wasn't surprised, but I was disappointed.
I mean, this was their chance. This was their chance, Judge. All they had to do was give them food, give them shelter. I mean, they have so many empty houses. Hey, the judge, how often are we reading in the news some insane, deranged leftist saying that they should just open up all the housing in New York City to the homeless or the empty hotels? I think California's Governor Gavin Newsom, who might run for president, was talking about opening up hotels that don't have occupation to the homeless. But then when they had the opportunity to do it, they didn't do it voluntarily, Judge.
Correct. And they're not really being, they hate, because I don't hate at all. I agree with them when they violate the personal liberty of individuals or when they treat groups of people as if they were livestock. But you're right, this was a golden opportunity for the left to address this. There was a lot of selflessness from the anecdotal reports that I saw amongst the very rich in Martha's Vineyard, and there were a number of church groups there that did the right thing. But really what DeSantis and what Governor DeSantis and Governor Abbott did, without even notifying the authorities of the receiving state, I mean, it's one thing to violate the rights of the individuals. It's another thing to take a problem that is yours by geography and transfer it to another state without any notice or warning. I mean, let's face it, the immigration system is a mess. I mean, for open borders, I believe you have the right to walk wherever you want. If my cousins in Florence want to live on my farm, it's none of the federal government's business. It's none of the state of New Jersey's business. It shouldn't apply for welfare. Welfare shouldn't exist. Fortunately, we've created a mess in this country with the giveaways that the country makes available. But to want to flee an oppressive government is an absolute natural human right. And to come to a place of freedom and find yourself tricked, duped, or forced on a 36-hour, 1,000-mile bus ride is simply criminal.
We're speaking to Judge Andrew Napolitano. You can text the show this morning at 573-319-1586. Now, Judge, you said that you just used the term that terrified every conservative who's listening to the show this morning. You said you're for open borders. Can you define what you mean by that? Because so often conservatives use that as a pejorative, but they never define their terms. What exactly does that mean to you when you say that?
Who wants to come here? You have the obligation to house, feed, and clothe these folks in order to have the ability to say, you can't come here. Somebody wants to walk across a border. They have the absolute right to do that, just as if they were walking from New Jersey, Pennsylvania. The government is in no position to stop that because the right to travel is a natural right. The government would have to show that somehow this person was causing harm by the very of working, which is almost inconceivable. I know conservatives don't like this, and I know I make a lot of enemies when I defend the rights of immigrants. I'm really defending the natural rights that all human beings have against an aggressive government would use people as pawns in an election year to gin up the base, and that's exactly what happened here.
We're speaking to Judge Andrew Napolitano. You can text the show at 573-319-1586. So, Judge, when you say that, I guess, how do we have a cohesive national security policy for the United States if there isn't some kind of a means for the government of the United States, either the state governments through Texas or the federal government, right, in Washington, D.C., to be able to vet those who want to come here to do us harm? How do we, have a cohesive national security policy and still maintain the rights of the individual?
We don't put people in the country from moving. We think they wish us ill. We prosecute them after they've caused the crime. You want to start vetting people before they commit crimes? Well, then you're in the Tom Cruise or Keanu Reeves movie world where the government predicts who's going to commit crime and fines and punishes before they predict it. The country is based on freedom. It's not based on security, and it's not based on order. It's based on personal liberty.
So was in your mind the Ellis Island system that my ancestors came through, was that a violation of liberty then?
It was, and for a noble purpose. I mean, my grandparents came through Ellis Island. They were only there for a few weeks while their credentials and their health was confirmed, in an era before vaccines and public health had reached a level where you can walk through the streets without worrying about the person you're brushing up against is going to give you a deadly disease. It was the public policy of the country to certify health, but it wasn't the public policy of the country to stop people from coming in because of where they came from. It once was. I mean, the first immigration law ever enacted is 1886. You know the name of it?
The Chinese Exclusion Act. Yes, I do know it very well, Judge.
Yeah. You make me bones about what they were trying to accomplish. But it's France. They just a nationality and decided they didn't believe in the natural right.
And FDR prevented the Jews from escaping Germany and Europe and coming to the United States during, the Holocaust.
And FDR arrested 120,000 Japanese Americans born here because of their history of the American government in history of oppression based on race and nationality. If you truly believe in natural rights, if you truly believe that our rights come from our humanity, then none of this is tempered by the place where your mother was physically located when you were born. You have the same natural rights if you're from Nicaragua or Cuba or Moscow or Jerusalem or Bloomfield, New Jersey.
It's it's a fascinating discussion, Judge, and I'm going to switch topics just a little bit, though it is a question of freedom and safety and things like that. I ran a poll on my Twitter account yesterday, and it was it's a false binary, a false choice, if you will. But how often are we always given false choices by the two major parties? But the question was, if you had to choose, you could live in a free society where sometimes children would be exploited or they would be dragged to drag shows or things like that. If you could have a free society and sometimes kids would go to drag shows, or you could live under National Socialism, right? And there would be no drag shows and all degeneracy would be punished. A slight majority of people voted for National Socialism. And Judge, what I find fascinating about that is when you think about it, the conservative right is, I think rightly disgusted by the behavior of activists who are exploiting children. But if you were to ask a conservative, are the children who die in mass shootings, is that the price of liberty for us to protect our Second Amendment? Do they pay that price? They would say, yes, just because there's a mass shooting, we don't give up our Second Amendment rights. Well, could that then apply to, say, child drag shows? Just because some people are taking kids to drag shows doesn't mean we need to have a totalitarian, authoritarian government to try and prevent that kind of degeneracy. It really does. The loss of our liberty really does come down to both sides think that they're protecting children and they're willing to take away all of our rights to do it, isn't it?
Well, because the people who want to take our rights away don't believe that our rights are natural. They don't believe in due process. They don't believe in the basic the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, or the Constitution. If children go to drag shows, it's because their parents let them. It's not because the government permits drag shows. But there are a lot of prices to pay for personal liberty. No price is greater than the benefit of personal liberty. The reason these slaughters occur in schools is not because we have the right to keep and bear arms. It's because the right to keep and bear arms is ingrained in the schools. If the teachers were armed, they didn't have these idiotic signs saying "Welcome to a no-free school zone." If the football coaches were armed, these creeps would think twice before they entered the school and before they tried to kill innocents. But you can't take liberty away from everybody because of the misbehavior of a few people. Who would want to live in a National Socialist? I mean, you're talking about Nazism. Who would want to live in a society like that? Benefits of living in a society like that where the government takes all of your personal liberty away from you in return for safety.
It's sad.
It ultimately produces liberty.
You and I understand that, Judge, but there are generations of people who didn't live during those periods and for whom World War II is a distant memory. And the sad thing is, Judge, is that the false binary that we are being given today is that the response to pushes for international socialism from Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum and the United Nations is that there are people here in the United States that think that the response to the threats of international socialism is to have national socialism here. And I think you know what I mean.
No, it's not what you mean, which is why you and I do what we do for a living, to remind people how precious liberty is and how easily it can be taken away. I mean, democracy or a republic, which we are, does not simply mean majority rules. It means absolute, total, unswerving respect for the rights of the individual, not tempered by the majority. I mean, that's why we have an independent judiciary, the whole purpose of which is to be anti-democratic, to preserve the life, liberty, and property of the individual against the avaricious grasping of the majority, whether they want our property or our cash or our freedom. That has to be fought every day, Austin. You're on the front lines. I'm on the front lines, and we have to be unwavering, even when we upset our fellow libertarians who have a blind spot when it comes to people from other countries.
I agree. Judge, you and I also have a very exciting announcement that we're going to be making very soon. I can't wait to reveal that to the audience. A big team up between the judge and AP. You are the host of the Judging Freedom podcast. You can download on any of your streaming devices, as well as hosting a weekly column at judgenap.com. Judge, God love you. Thank you for your time today.
All of them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You don't want to miss a single minute of it. The Wake Up America Show with Austin Petersen here at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here. And we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Wife. I want to thank you all for watching the Wake Up America Show with Austin Petersen. This show has been a huge venture for our family, so we would love it if you could join us.
I believe in liberty, and I believe in Austin's ability to spread the ideas of liberty. Do you?
I want to ask you today to join Petersen's Patriots with a pledge of $17.76 a month. Help us to stay cancel-proof so we can spread the message of limited government across the country. I joined Petersen's Patriots myself, just in a little different way. Visit wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and make your pledge today.
Average Americans are turning into conspiracy theorists at an unprecedented rate. Flip City Magazine was created for new converts to aid in their in-depth research along the path of absolute truth. We offer the hardest-hitting news and opinion delivered uncensored in print directly to your door. Display proudly on your coffee table or hide discreetly under your mattress. Flip City is the magazine they don't want you to see, much less read. Subscribe to Flip City Magazine today at flipcitymag.com.
Speaker Pelosi's husband, Paul, made a big investment in chips just before Congress votes on a bill that would give $52 billion in subsidies and tax credits to the chip industry.
Over the course of your career, has your husband ever made a stock purchase or sale based on information he received from you?
No.
And I believe if you come to our border, you will be turned back. Do not come. Do not come.
Have you ever received a royalty payment from a company that you later oversaw money going to that company?
You know, I don't know as a fact, but I doubt it.
Well, here's the thing is, why don't you let us know?
Good morning. It's 8:27. It's time to rise in freedom. Thanks for watching the Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen. Phew, I got to tell you, I'm already exhausted. That was an intense conversation with everything going on here in the studio this morning, all the guests on Zoom and coming into the studio. Boy, it's a lot of work to get this show out there, but I'm excited because I saw today that we had like 15 to 20 people watching on rumble.com this morning. That is exciting. I love to see that because that platform, I believe, is probably going to be the future for the show when, Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and all those places go, no more freedom for this guy. But what do you think of the show? The discussion that we just had with Judge Napolitano. I know. That's not a popular topic with conservatives, with libertarians. And I do think that I probably fall more on the Judge Napolitano side of things. Although, I'm not totally for what he might consider open borders. I'm more for an Ellis Island style system where you do have a security check, you do have a disease check, and then you can come to the United States. But I think that the problem is that, most people are not giving us reasonable solutions to the immigration problem. They're not going to say, hey, well, we need to have some kind of a common ground. It's always the extremes who tend to dominate the debate. Now, I'm really excited to introduce to you my next guest who's going to be joining me here in just a couple of minutes. He is the former chief economist at the White House. His name is Vance Ginn. He's going to be talking to us a little bit about the state of the economy. The dollar is actually strong for once. The Federal Reserve increasing its rates has made it so that the dollar is competitive around the world, but that is causing a lot of economic problems, and inflation is still off the charts. So how does all of that stuff work? Well, Vance Ginn is going to be joining us here in just a few minutes and explain it a little bit to us. Camellia Petersen over in the Facebook live stream says that she listened to Art Laffer talk last night about Tennessee's no income tax, low property taxes, and also no personal property taxes, and how well they're doing economically. Serious Tennessee jealousy. I don't think I've ever in my life thought I would ever be jealous of Tennessee, but I guess I am. Coming up next is Vance Ginn. He's going to join us to talk about the state of the economy. Maybe he can fill us in a little bit more about what they got going on down there in Tennessee. Don't forget, you can text the show 573-319-1586. Again, that's 573-319-1586. And we'll be back with more Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Hello, Kelvin. Welcome to Frenchy Bush. This is my Didi's website. Now I've decided to speak to you with my real voice for the first time ever to tell you about how cool Frenchy Bush is. But I've decided that this is the perfect opportunity to share with you. Frenchy Bush is a good website. You should follow us on socials. If you like Frenchies or any kind of bulldogs, me and my new brother George are going to try to make your life more fun.
Hello, I'm George. My neck isn't really thick yet, but it will be. We are so glad you're here. Please ignore my floating eyeball. It helps me spot predators who might be approaching from the sides.
Didi made Frenchy bullshit to review things that he uses on me and my brother to tell you if it's good or bullshit. Take this collar, for example. Didi really likes it. Didi said it's really handy because us Frenchies got thick necks. Need something really tough. People think Frenchies are little, but if you look at us from below, you can see we are really pretty buff. Beefcake. Yes. Look at my creamy thighs and chest. Yes. You like that?
Big brother, please focus.
Frenchy Bush. Please follow us for more great content and read the Frenchy Bush blog for more fun and cool stuff.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every dollar we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Ever hear the one about the frog? Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out.
Here's my resume again.
But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, and that frog will boil. It's a lie. But as a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans,
The real world experience.
it's a story that rings true. We make excuses for how we feel. We push everything down. We tell ourselves the lie that it's easier to stay in that boiling water, to disconnect. And some days, maybe it is. But you've never been interested in easy. Make no mistake, reaching out is hard. Do it anyway. You're not alone. You've got this. You are not a frog.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Good morning, it's 8:35 and it's time to rise in freedom. I'm Austin Petersen and you're watching the Wake Up America show. My next guest is the former chief economist at the White House. His name is Vance Ginn and he's joining us live on the video right now. Good morning, Vance. Thank you so much for joining us on the Wake Up America show.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Glad to have you here. The first question that I have for you is what we were talking about a little bit during the break there. Questions about the housing market. My wife and I, we got very lucky last year. We managed to get ourselves a locked-in rate when it was still pretty low. I think it was like 3% or something like that, where we managed to lock it in. A lot of people are not so lucky, though, and it looks like the Federal Reserve might actually increase rates. What will that mean for the housing market?
Well, Austin, I mean, you're hitting on a key topic right now because housing, we've seen affordability go down dramatically as the housing prices have just soared from keeping interest rates too low for too long and pumping a whole bunch of money in the economy. And then you had a lot of supply chain issues and other things that were going on in the housing market, and prices have soared. And that has contributed to some affordability issues across the nation. And then today, like you said, I mean, interest rates just on the mortgage interest rates have also doubled. I mean, they went up from 3% to 6%. The Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, they're going to meet. They met yesterday. They'll meet today. They'll come out, I think, sometime this afternoon, early afternoon, with what their new target federal funds rate is going to be. Right now, it's 2.25 to 2.5%. They're likely to raise it at least 75 basis points, meaning 0.75%, to about 3% to 3.25%. So what you might expect is that interest rates are going to continue to go up from what they're at now, reducing affordability of housing. And I think really, what's important about this, Austin, is that sometimes you get these booms and busts, right, in these markets. And that's what we've seen in the housing market. And unfortunately, I think these housing market prices have got to come back down because the Fed has put too much money in the economy.
Yeah, they put too much money in the economy, so we're all paying more for our beef and for our gas and for all of the staples that we buy on a regular basis. It's hard to find vehicles, even used vehicles on the marketplace. We still got supply chain problems. And, in the market where I live here in Jefferson City, it's hard to find a house, in the best of times. Now we got to worry about being able to finance the house. So what I'm reading, though, these days is that with all of these rate hikes that the Federal Reserve has been increasing, is that the value of the dollar has gone up, and it's actually very strong in comparison to the rest of the world. But the rest of the world is now suffering from the fact that our dollars are so strong.
That's right. There are always trade-offs, right? That's one of the key lessons in economics. Incentives matter, and there's always trade-offs. And so one of the big trade-offs right now is that, yes, as interest rates go up here compared to the rest of the world, where do you want to park your dollar? Where do you want to park your currency, your euro? You want to park it in the United States. You get a higher rate of return than you otherwise would elsewhere. And so that means a high appreciated dollar. And so that costs more for others to purchase our goods and services. But it also means that we can purchase their goods and services more cheaply than we could before. So there's still this trade-off that's going on. It does help some with our inflationary pressures as we're purchasing more from other countries that would be cheaper than what it would be here. But at the same time, you have such a large increase in the Federal Reserve's balance sheet. And we went from $4 trillion before the pandemic to $9 trillion. It's a massive increase in the size of the balance sheet. And there was a lot of spending by Congress, right? With the national debt has increased by more than $6 trillion in 2 years, $6 trillion. And so a lot of that has been financed, monetized by the Federal Reserve, putting more money in the system. And so you see a lot of these distortions that happen throughout the economy, one of those being the housing market, one of those being the dollar. And we've seen gold prices kind of soar as well. They're not as high as what they once were, but these are some of the inflationary measures that people usually get in, something that's more of a real asset, like housing, like gold, compared to other things that will be deflated away.
If you're just tuning in, we're speaking to Vance Ginn, former chief economist at the White House under the Trump administration. You can text the show at 573-319-1586 if you have a question for him. If you have a chance to buy a house now, would you do it now or would you wait? We don't know where we're going to be in 2 years from now, but what do you think they're going to do over the next couple of years? Just keep raising rates?
I think so. I think not only do I think they are going to, I think they have to. I think they've got to raise interest rates because right now, if you look at the CPI inflation rate, the consumer price index, over the last year, inflation is up 8.3% from the way they measure it. If you exclude food and energy, which are more volatile measures, it's still up 6%. If you consider what the Fed uses, the personal consumption expenditures index, it's close to 6%. And these are all 40-year highs, the highest in a generation. You know what I mean? And so what you usually see is that you need real interest rates, meaning inflation-adjusted interest rates, to be positive. Right now, they're still highly negative. You take 8.3%, subtract out 2.3%, right around what the federal funds rate is now, you've got a negative 6% interest rate, meaning that it's still cheaper to go ahead and purchase those houses and things of that nature. One thing that I would just give some kind of caution is that you really want to see where you're at in your financial situation, what your savings are, your retirement and things of that nature before you go out and buy a house right now, because we're already seeing some softening in the housing market where those prices are going to start coming back down. So if you buy at the market value price and the value goes down, let's say 5%, you could be underwater, meaning that you owe more than the value of your home, and that could cause some concern for a lot of people.
Big time concern. Yeah. What do you think? Send us a text at 573-319-1586. Biden seemed to be taking a bit of a victory lap. The Biden administration was talking about inflation rates the other day. In his interview with 60 Minutes, he's like, oh, the inflation rate's only, 8.4%, was 8.2%. But the inflation rate had gone up quite a bit more than that during his tenure in the White House, hasn't it?
It really has. If you look at the time whenever he came in January of 2021, the inflation rate was running around 2%, which is where it had been for a number of years. And it really started to soar after that. You could see a clear line of demarcation, if you will, whenever they passed the American Rescue Plan Act, the ARPA bill. That was about $2 trillion. It's a massive amount of money that went out to states and individuals, and more checks were being sent out and all these things. And then the Fed also monetized a lot of that because it's not like we have extra money just sitting around in the bank by Congress and no taxes to be able to put out. So they start to monetize some of that. And you started to see inflation start to soar in April of 2021, right around that time. So we're talking, a year and a half now. And some people, and you probably remember this, Austin, about people were calling this transitory inflation, that it was just going to be temporary and it's going to come back down. And a lot of people were betting that this was going to be because of supply chain disruptions. And once those supply chains came back online, then that would bring the prices back down and you would see that transitory nature of inflation. The problem with that sort of logic or theory was that it didn't consider how much the Fed had put money in the economy. And one simple way to think about this for your viewers is that if you have too much money coming in the economy, and so that's demand, you think about supply, goods and services, and you're overtaxing and you're over-regulating from the Biden administration, there was tons of regulations that went out, then supply can't grow. So demand is up here, it's growing faster than the increases in goods and services, and you're going to have massive inflation, which has influenced housing market. And that's one reason why I said a minute ago that, look, interest rates are going to continue to go up, and that will continue to kind of pop the bubble of the housing market and some of these other markets that I think have been too high for too long.
Man, that's a tough one. Well, if you're just tuning in, we're speaking to Vance Ginn. He's the former chief economist at the White House under the Trump administration. You can text the show at 573-319-1586. We just got a really good question from one of our listeners, Vance. And they asked, what about the impact of BlackRock, State Street, and other private capital buying properties and jacking up housing prices and rent prices? What do you think about that?
So there has been a lot of influence by these investment companies that they've been going out and purchasing a lot of homes, a lot of buildings and structures, because again, they want the highest rate of return. And they found that these more physical assets are going to be the ones that'll get the higher rate of return over time. In Texas, where I'm based out of, and in Austin, I've read that some of these investment firms have buying 50% of all the homes that are for sale. They'll buy about half of them. I know. And so the question is a lot of them now, I believe, from what I'm reading, is that they're now selling those off, which means more supply is going to come in the market. And if interest rates are going up and individuals don't want to buy them, they're going to stay on the market for longer, meaning that you're going to have to reduce the price, right? Supply and demand. You reduce the price to get these, to sell these homes. And that's another reason why I think that this bubble is going to burst and that it's going to come back down, quite a bit. It's also interesting to see what's happening with some of these larger banks like BlackRock and State Street, with their more ESG, environment, social governance sort of issues, where they're not purchasing as much oil and gas, but moving more towards renewable, what we call unreliable sources of energy. This is something that I think is also a concern. And should be something that we should be looking at, moving forward as far as your own personal investments. I'm not sure how much the government should be getting involved. I want as limited government as possible. They'll probably just screw it up more. But these are major concerns with these large entities.
Yeah, no, for sure it is. But these ESGs, environmental, social governance policies, this is really all about taking leftist viewpoints and trying to impress them on the population at large through corporate governance. Is that correct?
Yes. That's right. And you see this happening quite a bit across the United States, and it's a concern, right? Because a lot of the oil and gas, which is kind of the lifeblood of our economy, you're trying to put more capital in other areas, and that's taking away capital from things like oil and gas. And so if you're moving away from that, and look, I'm for across the board sort of energy sources. I want government to get out of the way. I want there to be, no more energy production tax credits and subsidies and tax breaks for any of them, and let the market work. And what you'll see, right, is that the market's going to go more towards oil and gas, which allows for us to have a vibrant economy. And we see what happens when we start doing these ESG things that's going on in Europe right now. I mean, Germany has turned to using wood, right, to heat their homes again, which has high particulate matter. And there's a lot of talk about the effect on the environment and everything else. But I mean, and coal, right, and these sort of things, those are going to have more effects than like things like natural gas that are more cleaner burning overall. And so it's not just the effects that they're having from these more progressive policies overall, but the essential things that we have in everything that we do every single day. Even in our clothes, there's oil around us, and all the paint. There's oil. I mean, all this stuff is around us. And so if we're moving away from that, from government policy, it's one thing to do it with markets, but if we're doing it with government policy, there's going to be a lot of cost in the process.
Man, absolutely. Boy, this was good information. Vance, you're out at the State Policy Network this morning, where a bunch of people, freedom-loving people from around the country, all gathered together. It was great to have you on for your first interview this morning on the Wake Up America show. I'd love to have you back. Where can people learn more about you and your work?
Well, thank you again, Austin, for having me on. Yes, I'm here in Atlanta, where the State Policy Network is having their annual meeting. It's a great discussion, about 1,400 people from across the United States, all freedom-loving folks. You can find me more about me in my newsletters, where I first point people to vanceginn.substack.com, or vanceginn.com is also my website. And I'm doing a lot of work in these areas. And so it'd be a pleasure to come back and talk with you, Austin.
Yeah, for sure, Vance. Thanks so much. That was a great interview. You have a wonderful day, and thanks so much for joining us on the Wake Up America show.
Great. You too.
Thanks. All right. Great interview. What did you think? If you thought that was a good interview, why don't you give us a like on Facebook, or give us a rumble on Rumble, or send us some bits on Twitch, or if you're on YouTube, like the stream, share it with your friends. Boy, this episode today was very big-brained, and thankfully we weren't suffering from all of the technical challenges we were yesterday. Things keep improving. The Wake Up America show just keeps getting better and better. Do you know why? Well, yeah, a lot of the work that I'm doing behind the scenes, but it's because of the support of people like you, the viewer right now. This is a truly crowdsourced, people-powered show. People who believe in freedom, limited government, economic freedom, personal liberty. You are the people making this show happen, and I am deeply grateful to you. One of our listeners texted in and said, the market will correct itself if Joe backs off. Great guest today. Almost too much big braining for me. I know, I'm starting to feel a little drained myself. It's an exciting day. I've got a few more minutes of the show left to go. I got to go to commercial break, but I will be back with more Wake Up America Show at wakeupamericashow.com.
I'm listed as a help my patients, and after an injury, I found myself as a patient. I experienced post-traumatic seizures. Depression is a big one that comes along with it, PTSD. So I pursued my PhD in neuroscience and regenerative medicine. The coalition has helped fund my academic pursuits. They genuinely care about helping the vet in whatever way that they can. Through supporting the coalition, you're supporting some of the veterans that have the biggest needs.
Visit saluteheroes.org to learn more.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun. Thank you, Ben.
Had enough yet? Do facts no longer matter? Are lies to be encouraged instead of punished? This is not our inheritance. If truth no longer matters, we will not remain free for long. This is our generation's challenge, to defend our founders' hope that we the people could self-govern if we defend our right to get the facts. And right now, we're building the only defense of free people have, the facts, on every politician, every position they held, every statement they've made, every vote they've made, and any cash they've taken. It's the real history on those now pandering for your vote. There are hundreds of young people building our defense right now, and they need your help. We all have our passions, but as our ancestors knew, when events become so foul they threaten us all, we must stand and defend each other. Please, have our backs. Join us at votesmart.org.
If I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors, what would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? You can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be.
There is no typical firefighter.
As the world faces the challenges of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, Lions recognize that kindness matters now more than ever. And Lions and Leos are finding ways to continue to serve our communities, including ordering food delivery for healthcare workers, holding story time for children online, and providing surgical masks to medical professionals and first responders. Empowering us to do more, Lions Clubs International Foundation has provided nearly $2.5 million in grant funding for COVID-19 relief. And that support continues to grow. For more than 100 years, in times of need, Lions always find a way to help those around them. And after we emerge from this, we will be stronger than ever. Visit lionsclubs.org to learn more.
Good morning, it's 8:53 and you're watching the Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen. Whew, boy, that was an awesome show, but it's almost over. I know, but don't forget, you get the show Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central. Tons more Wake Up America shows to go. Yeah, exactly. Lots to be happy for. We might as well dance and feel good. No, that's the wrong dance. We don't want to rickroll you there. That's a little prank. The Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen is brought to you by people like Tony Allegra, Camellia Petersen, Chris Morrill, Doug Hill, Tolly Owens, and of course my lovely wife Stephanie Petersen. Edie Vogel as well have crowdsourced this show to help it come to fruition, and it's been an exciting journey so far. Have you been enjoying it? I mean, it's nice to be free from the reins of a network. Sure, when you work for the man, you get a steady paycheck, you get health care and all those other nice things, but who needs health care anyway? Just kidding. We do have healthcare in the Petersen household, thankfully. But I just have to say that, for the last 3 weeks doing the Wake Up America show, working on it, tinkering with it, trying to make it better and all that stuff, the support from the community has been deeply touching. And I just want you to know just how sincerely I appreciate it. Now, there are a lot of you who are watching the program this morning who I know in real life, Camellia and, Edie and many others. But there are a lot of you who are out there who I've never met in real life and who are big time supporters of me. And I just want you to know how much I appreciate you, because I can't necessarily tell you in person. But the community of people who are out there, like the Cantina crew and all of the people who are the supporters from afar, the Tolly Owens and the Jamie Marie Popes, who I haven't met in person, you really mean a lot to me. And I want you to know just how deeply I care about you and your support of this show, because without you, this wouldn't exist. And now that technology has given us the capability for me to be able to have a voice that's totally independent from any mainstream media, any major networks, and still be able to monetize it, be able to make money from it, make a living from it, and spread the message of liberty every single day, introduce you to new people, introduce you to new ideas. For me, I am truly living the American dream. The topic of the show yesterday was asking a question, is the American dream dead? And we were talking about the housing market earlier. And I think I have to tell you that I am living proof that the American dream is still alive. There are people who are absolutely left behind. There are people who are struggling under this economy. There are people who are struggling to make rent and to make their mortgage payments. I get that. I truly do. And I am definitely one of the lucky ones. But, the fact that I've made it here with the support of people like yourself, shows that there is still a chance for people to be free in this country and to be able to do the things that they love and to be able to live a life that they appreciate. And I just want you to know how grateful I am for you. If you want to support the show this morning, if you're not a member of Petersen's Patriots and you're inspired to do so, please join us over at wakeupamericashow.com/support and make a $17.76 a month pledge. If you can do that right now, I would be super grateful. You're going to get a 20% discount off the AP for Liberty shop, and the holidays are coming up. There's lots of great gifts that you can buy for your family. You get a 20% discount, and you get entered into monthly prize drawings. You can also make a one-time donation if you don't want to do a monthly thing. You can make a one-time donation over there as well, and if you give $100 or more, you're going to get a free gift in the mail as well. Thank you so much for joining us on the wakeupamericashow.com. We are super grateful to have you. Boy, I love this audience. I love this show. I love my job, and I love America, and I love freedom, and I know you do too. Thanks again for watching the Wake Up America Show. Don't forget to watch us tomorrow morning and every Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central on the Wake Up America Show with Austin Petersen at wakeupamericashow.com.
It's morning again in America. Our country is prouder and stronger and better.
I like shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today. Fire.
Your printing company stinks. They charge you too much money and they don't love America enough. We've got the solution. Patriot Printing USA. Whether you're running for office, saving souls, or just need business cards that will get you the new job you've been looking for, Patriot Printing USA has got you covered with the best prices around. Palm cards, brochures, bumper stickers, door hangers, you name it, we've got it. PatriotPrintingUSA.com. That's PatriotPrintingUSA.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
Average Americans are turning into conspiracy theorists at an unprecedented rate. Flip City Magazine was created for new converts to aid in their in-depth research along the path of absolute truth. We offer the hardest-hitting news and opinion delivered uncensored in print directly to your door. Display proudly on your coffee table or hide discreetly under your mattress. Flip City is the magazine they don't want you to see, much less read. Subscribe to Flip City Magazine today at flipcitymag.com.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.